given Hezbollah is the primary force of resistance in Lebanon and one of the leaders in the region in resisting the Israeli onslaught and occupation and genocide, how do you see this wisdom playing out in their response from here? Because there has been a promised response. There is this new phase of war. What do you think could happen from here, given all that you've said already in terms of the strategic thinking of both Hezbollah and the axis of resistance?
Well, I think there's one, just the moment the speech was happening, the moment he was saying his speech, he started winning. Speaking about Sayyid Nasrallah, because first of all, it is the most followed speech in the history of the Israeli entity. Everybody was listening to him.
Yes.
Second of all, the evacuation started. They started evacuating all the centers and everywhere. And since the speech and until the strike happens, they are already anxious and afraid. And this is a win in the psychological warfare. And the psychological warfare is a very big trench of the warfare between Hezbollah and the Israelis. Not today, since forever. I mean, I still remember during the 2006 war, Sayyid Nasrallah came out in a speech. We were listening to the speech on the TV. And then he said, الآن انظروا إليها تحت. He said, right now, the ship that was bombing our homes and our people and our capital, my dear Lebanese, look at it burn in the sea, and with it, tens of soldiers who were killing you. And so it was a speech. And then Sayyid Nasrallah, in the speech, announced that the Lebanese resistance was able to defend Lebanon and to defeat the ship that was bombing our infrastructure for the past days. So this psychological warfare, yesterday, it started winning for Sayyid Nasrallah, because he said, you don't know what to do, you're going to cry a lot, and I tell you, it's not going to be only me, everybody's going to have their say. So you don't know where to expect it, from whom to expect it. He said it can be from Palestine, from Iraq, from Yemen. We don't know, we will see. It can be from the east, from the west. We don't know, we will see. You are laughing now, but you will cry. This was his speech. So I think if we want to look back at Hezbollah the past 9 months, they have been delivering intelligence-wise a great war of intel, because the people, there are some missiles with the cameras. The people, the soldiers, the lieutenants that they hit in the Israeli army were known. They knew who they're killing, and they knew when to kill whom. And I think the Israelis did the same as well. The battle between the resistance and the Israelis on that front is an intel and technology and a full of vengeance kind of battle. And although it has been revived now, but it didn't start today. It didn't even start 10 years ago or 20 years ago. This is a war of existence for both. This has always been the borderline and the front line for both. So I expect Hezbollah to do what they always did, to do something wise, as in to make them pay, but to be of zero civilian cost, hopefully, and to give them no excuse to come back again and to attack our capital or to further escalate the aggression towards Lebanon. I think they have been doing great work, great creative work in terms of defeating the Israelis without dragging full throttle aggression on Lebanon. And this is also the Iranian way. I mean, if you can see, it is not unprecedented to have assassinations. Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated and Qasem Soleimani was assassinated. You know,
Yes.
the Iranian embassy in Syria was striked. Ahmad
Yes.
Mughni was assassinated. Mustafa Badruddin was assassinated. Abbas Musawi was assassinated. There is no leader of the resistance that wasn't assassinated like that. So we always see different kinds of retaliations, but like I do expect that Hezbollah will keep on protecting the momentum as much as they did for the past 9 months, and for that I am grateful.
Yeah, yeah, and the word martyr comes up a lot, and I know you've spoken about how top leaders, those who are very public facing, especially inside of the Hezbollah organization, they expect death to a degree because that is what they are facing in a lot of ways with this occupation. It is mass murder, it is genocide, it's occupation, it is colonization. So given that, though, you talk about the defeat of Israel. I know that there have been a lot of people who are skeptical of this. We're witnessing this moment where at no other point has the cause of Palestine been bigger on the world stage, has had more support. And you mentioned it too, this coordination. You have Iran, you have Hezbollah, you have Ansar Allah. They're coordinating now, maybe more than they ever did before, had to do before. Maybe it's just more public now that this coordination is occurring. So could you talk about this? You mentioned Israeli defeat. You've mentioned on other programs, Israel, its existence is very much in question, and it won't exist for very much longer. Talk about maybe how this occurred and how then does this wisdom of the axis of resistance come into play? Because a lot of people, when they hear this, they're like, well, then why doesn't the axis of resistance just finish the job? I think that's been a lot of what I hear from my viewers. Why don't they just finish the job? So what do you have to say to that, Ghadi?
Well, things are not that easy or simple. You have a full world order that is protecting them. I mean, are we really forgetting that even the people in the universities have been denied graduation because they carried the Palestinian flag? Or like people with the Palestinian flag are denied entry to different places or sometimes lose their jobs. It's the flag of a country, for God's sake. We've become the underdog to the extent that they're not apologizing to being such racists. I mean, I work in a TV where every Israeli claim is news, but every Palestinian news is a claim. We all do. Everybody like our. I don't know why. The only lying part, the only thieves here, the only killers here were Israelis throughout the whole narrative. But this is how it is. I think first of all, it's so beautiful and nice and romantic of people to really expect from the axis of resistance to be able to finish everything, and it is really nice to feel empowered like that and confident like that. And I have this faith. But I think the resistance never worked when it was impulsive. This knowing when to hit and what to hit and how secretive to be is a part of their success, and trying to calculate the next day and the day after and the day after. I mean, we're speaking now, we are sitting 9 months after a full-blown televised massacre that has been justified by total lies. There are no 40 beheaded babies. There is no mass rape. The Israelis killed the people in Nova Festival using missiles and airstrikes. Haaretz wrote that. Everybody knows. It is the whole war was there was the drum rolls, there was the warmongers, there was everybody. Kill them all. Terrorism. And it was all a lie and a narrative. There was something on October 7. Hamas wanted to get hostages to swap them with the thousands of Palestinians that are detained without any reason, arrested without any crime. Men, women, children. Do you know how many children have been taken hostage by the Israelis in the past years? You only know Ahd Tamimi because she's blonde. But do you know how many Ahd Tamimis are there in Palestine? Do you know that every single person in Palestine to go to school, your kids would be full scanned and searched and humiliated and bullied, and it's your land and it's your father's land. There's an apartheid system. There's a real apartheid system by these colonizers. So what happened on October 7th is still dragging to today, all this impunity and all this audacity, and people like saying kill them all, people like Germany or whatever, like they're supporting the Holocaust again. I don't understand them. only because this happened. So what would happen if the axis of the resistance does something and drags something? We are talking about a lunatic with a tantrum, a war criminal, a lunatic called Netanyahu that has nuclear power. I don't think it's really, I think it's a little juvenile of us to really think that things can happen that swiftly. And with all the blood and the sweat and the tears and the sacrifices of our people, I think we've always been fighting them. It's not only now. The first martyr, the first person who died, planted the first seed, and the people who are being killed right now as we speak are also more seeds. Every single person is struggling. Every single sacrifice that is happening is a way to the liberation. And I always look at um, the uh, the lesson that we learned from the Russians fighting the Nazis. How many million Russian people died fighting the Nazis?
Right.
Millions, millions, right? They speak about 28 million.
28, yeah.
This is the number, and we are speaking like years and years ago. So the struggles for liberation, the struggles anti terrorism, like Israel, colonial powers and colonization and apartheid systems and racism, these struggles take time, they take blood and sweat and tears, and we all wish things could happen fast and we could get some respite. I mean, I was just having this is why we were late today, Danny, for the interview. I was just having another interview was being recorded here in the office, and I don't think there's any interview that I have that I don't at some point cry or get tears. I mean, it's not okay. It's not okay that this is happening. It's not okay that this is what we're talking about. Do not normalize it. We're not okay. There's a genocide. There's something even more horrible than the things we've heard about or read about.
Right.
And it's happening right next to us right now. And this is not easy. I mean, dealing with that and being able to still fight and to still be there and to still be confident and to still persevere, this is the light, and this is the path, and this is the respite for now.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are all good points. And sometimes you use the word juvenile. There, I think there may be a misconception and maybe a misunderstanding based on lacking experience in at literal war, not just war as we see it on TV or in Hollywood, or how the United States, where I'm based, likes to portray war. But we're talking about a resistance war, and we're talking about Israel sitting on top of, suffocating, and of course committing genocide on top of the people of Palestine and the rest of the region, as you well know. So that makes it so much. That's why I love when you use the term wisdom, because in order to fight a resistance war against that, you need to have wisdom. You need to look at this strategically and also fight in a different kind of way, because the consequences of an all-out war, I think we've heard it enough from Iran, we've heard enough from Hezbollah, that they would be just massive, because as you said, Israel is nuclear powered. I say this all the time on this channel. Israel has nuclear weapons. They are lunatics. No one trusts Israel anywhere in the world, let alone in this region. So, when it comes to this, though, I wanted to ask, Hezbollah and the rest of the axis of resistance, but maybe we can focus on Hezbollah right now. You mentioned something really important, that Hezbollah prioritizes the protection of people, of civilians, of Lebanese, of Palestinians. Could you talk about this? Because I think the idea in a lot of people's minds about Hezbollah is that they are either a terrorist organization, as the U.S. calls them, or they are a militia group that its primary and sole focus is war. So could you talk about maybe the realities of Hezbollah and this important point about Hezbollah protecting people?
I think one of the main reasons why the Americans are failing in implementing their policies in the region is that they do not want to learn about the people they don't like. They just want to impose the descriptions and with prejudice. So I'm not saying that you're supposed to like Hezbollah, but at least research what this organization is, what this ideology is, what do they think about, what do they work for, who they are, where they are, just to understand how to defeat them in case you wanted to. I think in first of all, in the whole history of Hezbollah, you can look at how they have been working and how their operations were. I mean, even when they had their leading operations, the operations they take pride in, were addressed and against soldiers and occupation forces. So the United States designates Hezbollah as a terrorist organization because Imad Mughniye killed the Marines, but he didn't kill the Marines in the United States of America. He orchestrated to kill them on the shores of Beirut because they were killing people also in Beirut. So for Hezbollah, it's not like they want to go after people all around the world and kill them. They just want to protect the sovereignty of their country. This is their ideology. In general, and in their religious ideology as Muslim Shias, first of all, to be Hezbollah, you must be religious. There's no such way. You have to be really religious. And being a religious Shiite, it has a certain lifestyle. It has a certain method and school and doctrine. And there is a lot. One of the things, for example, is sharing 1/5 of your riches and giving it to the poor. Other marital stuff. But one of the main things also is that if you accidentally harm any person, you have to pay for this religiously and financially and material, and it doesn't go uncalled for. And this, I think, really stems into their way in war as well. And when I say they have civilian lives like importantly, it's not only Palestinians and Lebanese. They also really mind that they are not there. They're not hurting the Israeli civilians if they are civilians, because there are no civilians in this entity. But they are targeting military bases that are designated military or intelligence bases. They are targeting military vehicles or towers or infrastructure. So, and this is how they've always been. It's nothing new. So when we say they don't target civilians, they haven't. Before, they haven't. There's no such thing in their history. So this is why we say they don't target civilians, and their ideology doesn't really say that. The problem is that when you say you think every Islamic, and I think it's very unfair if you say every Islamic group is like ISIS, because ISIS is not an Islamic group. ISIS is a bunch of terrorists that were made and funded by some Arab proxies in the region. But I think the American intelligence has always been very happy about the resurgence of ISIS in places. It's always wherever ISIS is, the Americans come after. It's always like that. So ISIS call themselves Islamic. The Islam comes from a book. Anybody can read the book and start saying, I am Islam, and do whatever they want. ISIS went around and killing people, but we didn't see all this talk about it when ISIS really killed the Syrian people, really killed masses of Syrian people, but nobody spoke about it in the mainstream media because they don't like Bashar al-Assad, because they wanted to overthrow Bashar al-Assad even if ISIS is there. So now they say they have a problem with Hezbollah because they are Islamic. Really? Where did you see them harm you? They only harm the Israeli colonization, and they harm the American well-being in colonizing the region. So you're only talking like that because you are pro-American policy in the West Asia or in the Middle East. And let me tell you, I mean, the Americans know, and we know, and everybody knows now in the world what the Americans did in Iraq and how they made all that thing up to come and to confiscate the Iraqi riches and to really destroy anything that is left in the Iraqi community or in the Iraqi state. So the Americans, when they call someone terrorist, they have zero credibility, not only for us in the Middle East, for the world. The era of ruling alone, the singularity, the unilateral world is done. And because it's done, They are doing all this this thing that they're doing to Europe and to Ukraine and to themselves, trying to defeat Russia, which would never happen. It's never gonna happen. They're never gonna defeat neither Russia nor China nor Iran. They're never gonna defeat everyone because the unilateral world has ended. They can't even function alone anymore. They can't even manufacture alone anymore. The world has changed, but they still need some time to understand. I mean, Hezbollah is Islamic in the ideology, but it is a Lebanese group. It's born in Lebanon, made in Lebanon, helped by the Iranians after the Iranian Islamic Revolution won. But the people that formed Hezbollah were fighting Israel before it. Imad Mughni was in Harakat Fatah. Some people were in the Communist Party. Some people were in the Syrian Social Nationalist Party. You know, Sayyid Nasrullah's father was in the SSMP, my father's party. It's totally not a religious party. That's in the 70s. So everybody in Lebanon was fighting Israel before it was Islamic. It became Islamic after the Islamic Republic of Iran started funding it directly because they also have an ideology about Palestine. I think it's really time now, after all these things are happening in the world and the world is changing, and us, me, you, and our viewers, we are witnessing the change, the big change and the shift in the world from one kind of system and order to another. It is really time to start doing our own search about organizations and people. Stop buying bullies, because there's one bully in the world called the United States of America, and this bully chooses who's the terrorist and who's not. But nobody in the history of mankind has exceeded the terrorism of the United States of America. The amount of people they have killed, whether it's in Afghanistan or in Iraq or in wherever they go. So it's time to change the narrative, and it's time to tell ourselves, okay, who is Hezbollah? Let me go and do my research. How come Hezbollah has a parliamentary majority? Oh, there are people who voted for them in Lebanon. How come people vote for Hezbollah in Lebanon? But also Lebanon is the biggest nightlife destination in the Middle East. Because for us in Lebanon, for me as a Christian Lebanese in Lebanon, I am very grateful for the Islamic resistance that is fighting and protecting my well-being, my children's well-being, the infrastructure of the country, and my ability to grow and to thrive in my homeland. So it's not really Islam, Christian, Judaism. It's very simple here. Indigenous people and colonizers. That's it.
Thank you for tuning in to my latest video. I appreciate all of your support. This channel, however, needs your help. I am seeking to make this channel more sustainable in the long term and upgrade necessary equipment to ensure that this work continues onward and makes progress to give you all of the geopolitical analysis that you all deserve. For that reason, I'm asking you to become a member of my Patreon community at patreon.com/DannyDhaiphong. You can find that link in the video description or in the pinned comment below. For whatever amount you choose to give, just know you are supporting independent media that you can't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video.